It is the contention of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania and Africanists that true democracy can be established in South Africa and on the continent as a whole only when white supremacy has been destroyed. The PAC has 5 aims and objects written in its founding documents, referred to as the basic documents. And these were not sucked, nor did they fall from the sky. To unite and rally the African people into one national front on the basis of African nationalism, to fight for the overthrow of white domination and for the implementation and maintenance of right to self-determination for the African people, to work and strive for the establishment and maintenance of an Africanist socialist democracy, recognizing the primacy of the material, spiritual interest of the individual, and which will be according to the Africanist Manifesto, original in conception, Africanistic in orientation, socialist in content, democratic in form, and creative in purpose. Simplified, this thus means the working class must be rallied, mobilized, and united under the banner of an Africanist socialist democracy. The focus at all times being on the African working masses. Africanist because it must affirm the Africanness and dispel the myth of white supremacy that continues to exist in South Africa, even after white domination was overthrown. The man that chaired the first meeting in 1943, that was to give birth, so to speak, to the ANC Youth League in 1944, Peter Nkwetshwe Rabroko breaks this down and explains it further, that nationalism demands that the interest of individual people should dominate over those of aliens because the country belongs to the indigenous people. Socialist because it aims at the proletarian conquest of power to abolish the exploitation of men by men. Rabroko explains that socialism demands that the interest of the workers should dominate over those of their employers because their contribution to the creation of wealth is more significant than that of their bosses. Democratic because it restores the power of the majority and affirms their unfabricated participation in the shaping of their destiny. Rabroko again also takes this a step further and explains that democracy demands that those in the majority should dominate over those of the minority because they are a majority. In Africa in general, and South Africa in particular, the African people are indigenous to the soil, are the real workers, and are the majority. Their right to the effective control of their own interest is unchallengeable. By the way, this can be traced back to the ANC Youth League basic policy documents dated the 2nd of August 1948, and to this day can be found on the modern day ANC Youth League website. Pan-Africanism, therefore, must be viewed as having the following tenets. Capitalism and racism are inseparable. The only antidote for the African masses is Pan-Africanism and socialism. The two are also inseparable. It's related.